The location is Trig Beach, Perth. The date, 28th of May 2005. A car belonging to 47-year-old Ross O'Connell is found abandoned. His shoes, socks, wallet and keys are left in the vehicle. O'Connell, who suffers from mood swings, is nowhere to be found. It looks like a tragic suicide. But is it? I've been reporting here in WA for more than 20 years. And sure, the West has its own fair share of bizarre and sometimes intriguing crimes, but this one takes the cake.
Mr O'Connell's quite unique because up until he was about 37 years of age, was a normal citizen, normal life, married, kids.
He was a lovely guy. He was charming. He opened the door if you were walking past and the door needed to be opened. He was very quiet, always nicely dressed. And I was completely blown away when I found out that he was a bank robber.
So why does family man Ross O'Connell leave his wife and children to become a bank robber? His boss back then, the owner of Perth's largest brothel, thinks she knows exactly why.
He was a driver for us. We do quite a lot of escorts and he would drive the girls to and from escorts and pick the girls up. So he became obsessed with one of our top sex workers of the day. She was a very mystical woman and she captured him.
All we know about the obsession of Ross O'Connell's life is her working name, Caroline, and that she's of African descent. Infatuated, O'Connell goes on to terrorise Perth with 4 armed robberies in 4 months, apparently so he can shower Caroline with gifts and cash.
He walks into the banks very calmly, goes up to the teller. The only thing is, he produces the gun.
Over a period of 3 to 4 months, he stole $58,000, just to be with her. It's an incredible amount of money.
Police quickly hunt down O'Connell. His big mistake? Using the brothel's limo as his getaway car.
I was devastated. It just shocked me that, this had happened under our roof.
The other victims of Ross O'Connell's bizarre behaviour were his family.
We put a collection together and raised over $3,500 that we gave to Ross's wife and children. And Caroline refused to put into the collection. I said, well, if you don't match what we collected, you'll never work for me again. And she never worked for me again.
At this point, the mysterious Caroline disappears from the story, apparently considerably better off. O'Connell, meanwhile, is sentenced to 7 years jail for his series of violent armed hold-ups. Evidently, he's a model prisoner, because barely 2 years later, he walks out of here on parole. But it wouldn't take long to discover whether O'Connell had turned over a new leaf.
He was out on parole and in 2000 committed 2 robberies one day after each other, and again on banks and again used a firearm.
There are rumours O'Connell's now infatuated with another sex worker. He gets away with tens of thousands of dollars. Yet again, the police catch up with him. And yet again, he ends up behind bars. Surely on his release this time, Ross O'Connell would turn over a new leaf.
It was the 3rd bank to be held up in just 3 hours. Witnesses say the armed robber even stood in line before producing what's assumed to be a replica gun.
From September to October 2004, he committed another 4 armed robberies in this state. This time he's used a little more disguise, using wigs, using hats, glasses, each time getting away with a substantial amount of money.
During one robbery, a dye bomb explodes, permanently staining his cash haul. Audaciously, he goes to Perth's only casino and calmly launders the notes, using automatic money changers. But O'Connell slips up again. Police catch him as he lands in Perth on a flight from Sydney, carrying a replica pistol and disguises.
He was caught in late October 2004. Again, confessed to police at the time. He was remanded in custody and remained in incarceration until a bail hearing in April 2005.
Given O'Connell's record, police strongly oppose bail. Incredibly, he's released.
He surrendered his passport and he had reporting conditions every day to Midland Police. The last sighting of Mr O'Connell was May 2005.
So 8 years after he begins his career as a bank robber, Ross O'Connell's tale takes yet another twist with his apparent suicide down here at Trigg Beach. But he's not fooling anybody.
We believe strongly that the vehicle was staged, even though there was quite an extensive search done of Trigg at the time. Detectives do believe he is still alive. There's no suicide note. People who are thinking about suicide aren't thinking about leaving all their personal belongings in the car, leaving his shoes in the car. Mr O'Connell's done a runner.
Oddly enough, O'Connell is listed as both a missing person and a wanted person. He's known to suffer from bipolar disorder, which may explain some of his erratic behaviour.
The reason why we haven't seen him on the radar for a number of years is because he might be well medicated, but he's got these robberies outstanding. Now he'd be thinking about how to stay out of jail.
O'Connell has been on the run for 8 years. The big challenge for police is that his last mugshot is long out of date. Forensics detective Paul Alsop digitally ages the photo with the latest technology. So what are the key things that you look at when you're aging someone like Ross O'Connell?
Probably their face structure, their jawline, cheeks, how his eyes are going to age.
He's definitely looking older.
And that's our final face.
So that's what he would look like?
As close as I think I can get to it.
Armed with a new mugshot, police are turning to you, the public, for help. Have you seen Ross David O'Connell?
Police are never going to give up. Mr O'Connell's left a trail of victims behind him who still live every day without thought that that person put a gun in their face.
You know, he was just faded into any background. I can understand how they'd have trouble finding Ross in society because he could live in any suburb as your next door neighbour and you'd just think he's the greatest guy.